Good morning. This is the time and place for the zoning administrator's hearing for April 22, 2009. My name is Edith Fuentes, and I will be conducting the hearing as hearing officer. We have one case today, and relevant exhibits are posted on the panel located directly behind me. Let me just quickly go through our hearing procedure. Under the provisions of Title 30, Chapter 30 of the Glendale Municipal Code, a variance shall be granted if four required findings are present. 1. That the strict application of the ordinance would result in practical difficulties or unnecessary hardship inconsistent with the general purposes and intent of the ordinance. 2. That there are exceptional circumstances or conditions applicable to the property involved or to the intended use or development of the property that do not apply generally to other property in the same zone or neighborhood. 3. That the granting of the variance will not be materially detrimental to the public welfare or injurious to the property or improvements in such zone or neighborhood in which the property is located. And 4, that the granting of the variance will not be contrary to the objectives of the ordinance. If the evidence presented in the application and at the hearing meets the criteria just described, then the zoning administrator can either approve or impose conditions for approval on the case in question. If the findings of fact are not evident, then the request will be denied. Notification of this hearing was accomplished by the use of public notices, which were mailed to property owners located within 500 feet of the subject property, physically posted on the site in question, and placed in the local newspaper. The hearing will proceed as follows. I will read the description of the application or the request, and then read reports received from other city departments and other letters or communications from interested parties. The case planner will make a brief presentation or overview of the case and make a recommendation. The applicant will then be asked to come forward, stating both name and address, and will be asked to present the case within a 15-minute time limit. Others in support of or in opposition to the application and any interested parties will be asked to come forward to speak. Again, clearly stating both name and address within a 3-minute time limit. Lastly, the applicant will be given the opportunity to make closing comments if desired in response to testimonies given by preceding speakers within a 5-minute time limit. The hearing will be closed and the case taken under submission. After the hearing, the decision will be prepared in writing and will be in the form of a letter sent to the applicant and to all persons who responded to the public notice, either by speaking at this hearing or by submitting written responses and have provided their name and mailing address. I would like to emphasize that the date of the decision will be the date appearing on the letter. Under the appeal provisions of Title 30, Chapter 30 of the Glendale Municipal Code, the decision may be appealed to the Planning Commission within 15 days of the date of the decision. Anyone wishing to appeal may obtain forms and brochures on the procedures from our Building and Safety Section, Permit Services Center, located on the same floor of this building. If you wish to speak, please write your name and address on one of these speaker forms which have been provided by the front door and submit it to our planning assistant. I would like to also inform everyone that the official proceedings of the zoning administrator's hearing are recorded on tape as part of public record. Okay. This is case number variance 2008-035. Location is 1344D Valley View Road. Applicant is Williams Land Use Services. and the case planner is Chris Baxter. This is an application for a standards variance to allow a required driveway to pass through 4 developed neighboring parcels to access the required parking spaces for a new house and garage on a vacant parcel lot located at 1344D Valley View Road in the R1 Low Density Residential Zone, Floor Area District Number 1, described as portion of Lot 1, Valley View Tract Number 2. And let me just quickly go through some of the comments.
Madam Chair, the comments are going to be in the manila folder.
Oh, okay. Not in the...
It's underneath.
There you go. From engineering section, recorded ingress, egress, drainage, and utility easement for the common private driveway is required and shall be recorded against the property. Grading permit may be required. And no retaining walls or other permanent structures are allowed to be constructed within the existing 6-foot wide storm drain easement. Method of discharge of on-site drainage shall be approved by the city engineer, and separate permits are required for all work performed within and, if any, public right-of-way. And additional requirements may be required after the initial submittal of final engineering plans. I think this is integrated waste. Applicant must comply with Glendale construction and demolition waste reduction and recycling plans. And maintenance services, they have some recommendations as far as trees. Protection regarding the One Coast live oak tree, and they have some tree protection measures and indigenous. Let me see. And a couple of suggested conditions, but you can take a copy or get a copy of these recommendations and suggestions. So.
Madam ZA, one of the big issues, I think, is it's kind of a long presentation by them, but there's storm drain issues that they had some problems in sewer lines, I believe.
I know, but
but anyway, I mentioned it.
This is a suggested condition. So
I mentioned it all to the applicant.
I'm gonna most probably request the applicant to discuss with this section and then let me know what happened. And traffic and transportation, they have some notes regarding adequate space should be provided within the site to accommodate three-point turning movement. So I'm not sure how they're going to, accomplish that. And from fire engineering, again, they have suggested conditions regarding vehicular access and performing fire flow tests. So is this going to be a requirement or suggested condition?
Well, I think it could be something they may require, ma'am.
Yeah. So you may want to discuss that with them too. Okay. Any neighbors' concern or?
Did not see anything.
I think that's all we have.
Written ones, or maybe some people present.
Okay. For a brief overview and presentation, Chris, go ahead.
Yes, ma'am. Madam Chair, may I approach the board here?
Sure.
See, move the pointer.
Right there.
That's all right. All right, on the plans behind us, here's an overview of this site, which is known as Lot 1. I went back and got the original tract map, and if you look at our...
So that's a fully platted lot or something?
Yes.
Building. No?
I went through, and I don't know if you, in the chronology that I did, very briefly, this particular tract map was created in 1906.
Okay.
And then also in the chronology, if you look at, in 1908, there was recognized a house in this location back here, 630-some square foot house. 1923, they built a garage back here for that house. 1924, a 10-foot easement and an 8-foot easement. Didn't specify the uses, but it appears to have been some driveway uses. I think the applicant will be able to describe that in more detail, but for driveway purposes to access the properties. And then in 1936, there's a 6-foot wide drainage easement with the city through here for storm drain purposes. Okay. Then 1989, this little house here was demolished. So it's been vacant since, and if you look at the photographs over here, you'll see this view here is standing here looking in this direction.
That's an
And-
existing gate right there?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah,
Okay, and then this view actually is a little closer shot of that. You can see the truck here and kind of looking up, so it's a little bit more like this.
Yeah.
And then this view is looking back here. There's an existing electrical building to be removed. So those are your three shots. We also pulled up on the screen here kind of a nice overview, so you can look here. The vacant area is right next to that X right there. So there's a large tree. The oak tree is right there.
Okay.
And what the applicant worked with the urban forester. This is the actual drip line. Here's the tree right here. And here's the design of the house. The applicant has their driveway here, and the concern that traffic engineering had talked about is, something, let's have them have from here a clear 25-foot backup, much like you would in a subterranean garage. Back up like this and drive head first, rather than backing up all the way down for 200 some odd feet. Both fire department had some concerns, traffic engineering. So one of the conditions that I've suggested is they have room here to make sure that they can actually go 25 feet back as if this were a subterranean wall somewhere downstairs, and they just have 25 feet and drive straight
Is
up.
there a way they can do like a hammerhead, or a hammerhead would be going back this way?
Might be able to. You'll see I have a suggested condition to kind of embellish a little bit on traffic engineering.
Because I'm not worried about landscaping since it's not directly facing a street or something.
And they seem to meet that. Anyway, so we can see kind of an overview here. Then we see our smaller view here of the lot itself. You can see the driveway coming through here. Currently, you have access. These two properties look like they actually use this 8-foot driveway, come through a garage and come out this way, and come into the garage and come out this way.
Yeah.
This particular lot looks like they access it here and come out, and then this one is accessed directly there too. So from this, so it looks like this is a driveway used all the time by all the parties. That pretty much wraps up my presentation here. I can go through it some more. if you
Sure,
want.
yeah, go ahead.
Okay, then, one of the big issues that was being reviewed is the legality of that lot. We spent a lot of time with the applicant, and if you'll notice, all the tabs on your file,
So,
yeah,
I saw that.
it's a whole bunch. Those are exhibits that we worked with staff to have. There's a little scenario page, a summary page, if I may, real quick, ma'am. Here, if I could show you something here. This little, on the yellow.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, this is kind of an overview of all of those.
The
Here's
history,
tab, so
yeah.
it gives you a little title. And Exhibit I was one in which, working with the city engineer's office, Mr. Mike Mathias, and it's attached to the last page of the staff report where he actually wrote a note with his professional opinion that the lot was created back in, I believe it was 1924, with the creation of that easement for what we're looking at as a driveway type easement. And so then the question was, okay, if that's a legal lot, is the square footage appropriate size to be built on, since it was prior to June of '86? And so it is, because it's greater than 5,000 square feet. The neighborhood around there has a residential zones, R1 zone, so there are multifamily buildings in the area. And for street circulation purposes, it does exceed what the circulation element recommends for a local street, since this is a local street. So it appears that the development of this property would be appropriate, since the lot is a recognized lot. It's just a matter of getting to it now, and how do we do it in such a way that we don't create problems in the future for this property and for neighboring properties that all use the same driveway access.
Okay.
Okay?
The one thing that I looked at was the easement was recorded, right?
Yes.
Properly recorded and properly executed. So
ma'am.
it's an existing easement.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Thank you very much. To present the case, Janelle Williams. Janice, can I borrow a pen?
Good morning,
Morning.
Fuentes.
Thank you.
I doubt if there's another lot like this in the city of Glendale.
Very unique lot.
Very unique lot. I have brought a couple of exhibits to.
Give me your name.
My
and
name is
address.
Janelle Williams, Williams Land Use Services, 2418 Honolulu Avenue in Montrose. The property owners have brought a couple of more letters.
Thank you.
Letters of support from the neighbors, and they've actually brought some of their neighbors here today. Also, I have taken the image that you have on the screen there, and I just for your to clarify, I put the lot lines, approximated the lot lines on here for you. Might make it a little bit easier to follow. And I will go into the findings.
Why don't you tell me first about your proposed house, like how big and They have all the information, lot
Oh,
coverage. and-
geez, it's all on the site plan.
Ah.
I don't
You
have a
wanna-
copy of the site plan.
Give me first some information what got you to the driveway. Yeah.
To the driveway? Okay. Shall we start with the practical difficulties?
You start with the proposed project.
Okay, the project is a single-family house on a lot area of 5,050 square feet. The lot coverage that we're proposing is 25%. Floor area ratio is 0.29. Landscape area is 40%. And they're maintaining all of the required setbacks.
So this is the only item you're going to need. You're not going for any other.
No,
Variance.
we're complying with every code provision.
Code rules.
The only
Okay,
problem we have is access to the lot.
that's good.
And in the municipal code, all required driveways leading to required parking or loading areas shall be located completely on the same lot as said parking or loading areas. So that is the problem that we have today.
Good.
Otherwise, we're able to comply with everything,
Okay.
okay? And thank you, Chris.
That's what I was getting at is you meet all of the other code
We
requirements.
do. In
Okay.
fact, we can meet the turnaround as well. It's
Go
being
ahead.
suggested by Tom Mitchell. The practical difficulties or unnecessary hardships related to the property, the subject tract was created in 1906 and was subdivided sometime after that into 5 separate lots. This lot is uniquely situated at the terminus of a strip of 4 residential lots with an alley-like driveway to the south and a more traditional but narrower driveway to the north. The lots, and I also prepared this to kind of help you follow along with this explanation. Okay, the lots are all within the R1 single-family zone, and 4 of them have the same street address with A, B, C, and D designations, with the 5th lot bearing the address of 1338 Valley View Drive. The practical difficulty in this case is that the driveway for access to all but the 2 lots with street frontage cross over other lots, 1344A, B, C, and 1338 Valley View. Lot A accesses from the north. Lot B accesses from the south, as does 1338 Valley View. The home at C crosses over the lot at 1338 for access, and their ingress and egress can be from either side, north or south. Due to the topography, the prior layout, and the prior garage location on this lot, it's practical for us to emulate the footprint of the old house, which has been demolished, and to build the garage at the southern lower portion of the lot accessing from the southern driveway. What is unique about the property involved or the intended use or development of the property as related to the variance request? And I'll give you this before I go into that project.
Thank you.
The intent and purpose of these lots, consistent still with today's zoning designation, was for the creation of single-family houses, 1 to each lot. Besides the situation described prior, there was until the late 1980s a single-family house on the lot. It was owned by the neighbor to the north on Valley View at the time. They decided to demolish it, probably due to failing integrity of the building, and to build another house on it, which was their intent, but for some reason they didn't follow through with rebuilding at that time. Why will granting of the variance not be detrimental to the public welfare? The granting of this variance will allow the property owner to use the lot in exactly the manner of its original intent and exactly as it had been used prior. Utilities already exist to serve the lot with water, power, and sewer. The structure will be modest in size and not out of character with the neighborhood. The neighbors most affected by this request understand the need to cross lots for access and have indicated their approval to this application. All have signed off on allowing access to this lot. And why will granting the variance be in keeping with the objectives of the applicable regulations? One residential dwelling unit per lot is allowed, consistent with the goals and policies of the general plan, consistent with the objectives of the applicable regulations, and consistent with its prior best use. The lot was created for the development of a single-family house. Adequate parking and landscaping will be maintained on the site, and the use will provide a home for the property owners who have resided in Glendale for many years and who now wish to make Glendale the city of home ownership for them. I will conclude the findings. Do you have any questions for me at this time?
I just have a few clarification, and maybe Chris could also.
Yes,
Okay.
ma'am.
We're saying the records show that there was an existing house in there.
That is correct. That would be the Los Angeles County Assessor
Right.
records show that.
Do we have anything in our permit file here or record?
Oh, yes, Madam ZA.
So it's been established that
Yes.
that was a built site.
Water and Power has records, and
Okay.
you
We
should
also
have them in your
have-
packet.
But we have a roofing permit
We
in
have, yeah, that's why I
62.
was gonna say, we have existing permits that were issued on the site.
Yes.
So that means it was also established that that driveway has been used
Yes.
Yes.
prior to, okay, and the fact that we're asking you to just come back is because you're demolishing, or that
It was already
was
demolished.
already demolished, but everything is already there, right? Existing?
Yes.
We're basically repeating everything that's been done.
Yes.
And
Well, updating to meet today's code standards, with the exception of the driveway.
Madam ZA, in the comments in the manila folder that came, I did follow up with some comments that I didn't know if you have them with you, but you remember these ones I emailed you? I was going to follow up, that follow right in line and kind of support your issue here, but I think would be, that helped them, so she was aware of the question here, but the, right along, we have an existing driveway there. I think one of the things that was brought up later after my staff report came out was, is there a written agreement between all the property owners to maintain, repair that driveway and to comply with the, maintaining it? And if there isn't an agreement, would they be adverse to doing something like that? That would probably have been a
Well,
condition.
it's really a private, that's going to be a private agreement between the 4 or 5 of them. So my main issue is we're making them go through all this process, but the fact remains it's already an existing site. It was built, the house is demolished. They've used the driveway for so many years, since 19 so and so.
Right.
And this is just the formality because of the fact that that was demolished. We're treating it like a brand new site
Yes.
to meet all other code requirements. But I'm just getting to the bottom of the facts. The fact remain, it's been used.
Sure.
A house was built. We issued several other type of permits.
Yes.
The driveway has been used. But I think we can redesign the driveway a little better to have like a little hammerhead when you get out of the garage
Up in
to
the
back
subject
up.
property?
Right. And like I said, I'm not as much concerned as having that all those landscaping, because you need to contain the driveway, the hammerhead within.
I imagine we can refine that drawing.
But it will look much better if we kind of redesign it. I know you still have to go
Possible.
before design review board, and they may have a different requirement or a different take on this design, but we can improve it a little better.
Okay.
Okay, as far as the comments from other sections or divisions. I'm going to let you take care of that. But
Okay.
you have to let me know where you are
I will.
and what's happening so I can
We will.
make a determination what required conditions, major concerns, or suggested conditions will be
Okay.
imposed.
Appreciate that.
Okay.
Appreciate that.
Anything else on those things, Chris?
No, ma'am,
We're
other
clear?
than
Okay.
those other questions.
And just for the record, let the record reflect that I have a couple of letters from neighbors in support of the application. One is from Samson and Janet Kesishan, and the other one is from Judy Faust in support of the application. Okay, our next speaker is Gary Puff. Puff the Magic Dragon.
Good morning. I'm
Give me your
Gary
name.
Poff,
Okay.
And I live
So
at
how do
3
you pronounce your last name?
Poff.
Puff.
Hey, you got it
Okay,
right.
good. Thank you.
And we live at 351 Parkwood Drive, which is right on the corner of Parkwood and Valley View. And we've been a neighbor of Jim for some 43 years, 44 years, something like that. And we are just totally in favor of the project. We totally support it.
You want to see it developed and
Absolutely.
looking good, right?
And it's, they're a great couple, and they're be their first real home, so that's something really special. So
Good. Thank you very much for
Thank you.
coming. Okay. Jim Oswell.
My name is James Oswald, 616 North Kenwood, and I'm the owner of the unique lot. And I'm just here to hope that you will approve my variance and I can build our first home together and live in Glendale. I was born and raised in Glendale, and I want to stay in Glendale and own a piece of property here.
So how long have you owned the property?
7 years.
7 years. Oh, good. It's about time we develop it, right?
Yes, it's about time.
Okay. Thank you.
Thanks.
Is there anybody else here who would like to speak in support or in opposition to this application? Seeing none, any closing comments?
Only that the property owners have worked hard with their designer to make a home that will meet the standards of the city of Glendale. And with the exception of this one issue that we just can't seem to get around, we urge your approval of the application. We think the house will be compatible with the neighborhood, and we know that the Oswalds will be great neighbors.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Anything else, Chris?
No, ma'am.
Okay, well, thank you all very much. I'm going to go ahead, take this case under submission, and we'll let you know. Thank you for coming, and I'm closing the public hearing at 10 minutes after 10.